Good evening and welcome back, Poetry Lovers. It is I, ZM Wise, and here I am with Miss Cassidy Bailey. She's going to talk a bit about her poetry, about her recent featured reading at Nocturne, and just her involvement in theatrical arts and the arts in general. so, Miss Cassidy, tell us a bit about your involvement in the arts and how you got started in poetry.
Okay, so ever since I could hold a writing utensil, I have always enjoyed creating things. So I guess before I could hold a writing utensil, but so I started off with art, and I actually hated writing for the longest time. I did not enjoy it whatsoever. But in fourth grade, my teachers they invited me to attend this writing boot camp, and so they made it sound like this really enjoyable thing, and it was really just to help kids improve their writing skills and understand that language arts isn't just a task, like it's something you can actually enjoy and delve into outside of the classroom. And so that sort of set me on the literary path, and I've been interested in writing ever since. I wanted to be a journalist for the longest time, and I took journalism in middle school, and I realized that's just glorified yearbook. So that wasn't what I expected, but it was still creative, so that was good. Also, theater. That's my main thing. That's my passion. What I love doing. So I started that in sixth grade, and I'm still currently involved in that with school theater. I've been in community theater stuff, and it's just um, I have a passion for it that I haven't found for anything else yet. So that's my thing for now. um, that's definitely helped me with poetry, gain confidence in public speaking, and also sort of grasp the slam poetry aspect of that.
Okay.
And I don't remember really when I started writing poetry specifically, but I enjoy it now.
That's all that matters, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And so I guess sort of tying in with theatrics and all, and I'm sure you're quite familiar by now with slam poetry and how
Yes.
there's a lot of theatrics involved
Yeah.
in that, and it's not just about the words, it's the inflections, the tone, it's the way you move about.
Yeah.
Have you found that that has influenced your work at all?
Um, Not completely so. Like I haven't written my own piece of slam poetry or practiced performing one yet, but I've it definitely has been incorporated to some of my pieces, just like the inflection on some of the words, or at Thespian Fest, I think for 3 years in a row now. It's like this giant thespian or convention full of all the theater kids in Texas. I've attended this workshop called Power Poetry, and was taught by this sweet sweet woman. The first year, I was actually like the only person in the room with her, whereas all the other workshops had 20, 30 kids in them each, and so um, it was nice like to have an intimate teaching uh, setting where I really learned a lot about power poetry and how about slam poetry and the elements,
Hmm.
how important words are, which it's not working right now. Words aren't working.
It's
My bad.
it's Friday. I'll cut you some slack.
Thank you.
Our this is when our brains begin to slowly shut down
Mhm.
temporarily. What can you give us a brief overview? What is your material consist of? Like what are some of your key influences, or what or who?
Okay, well, mostly failed romances, because it's something I just struggle with personally. Is not just romance in general, but commitment or like intimacy. I know I've had a lot of problems with just feeling comfortable dating somebody in the past, and so um, obviously out of discomfort, a lot of emotions arise from that, and so I usually channel those into my poetry. So you can find a lot of uh, sad love stories, which is I don't know. there's a lot of bitter poems in my little black book.
No, hey, no, that's quite alright. I mean, it's how we evolve. It's sort of like, and I kind of relate to that on some level. It's if in some way I suppose you see it. It's therapeutic. It's sort of like a
Yeah.
cleansing because
Hmm.
once that past incident is down on parchment, like okay, sure I've immortalized it,
Yeah.
but still it's out of my mind for now, and it's and you find somewhat of a personal evolution through that. I don't
Exactly.
know.
Yeah, like um, whenever I'm really upset, like even if it's not about boys, I find that journaling really helps.
Mhm.
I don't know, just to calm yourself down and slow down and like go through, just breathe and unwind and realize like that's just not me. That's just my rage right now, you know. And that
Right.
helps.
That's not who I am at this point.
Yeah, exactly.
um, so you recently had a featured reading at Nocturne.
Yes.
What did you think of the reception, the response? What was your like performing, having that spotlight to yourself? Like, what was it like?
It was really nice. I don't share my work with people often, and so definitely as I've gotten involved with this poetry group, I feel like it's a nice, warm, little close knit community of word lovers, and so I really enjoy having a safe space to share that, and having my very own spotlight to do so was just empowering, you know. And although I don't really have a fear of public speaking or anything. Like with theater, I'm comfortable sort of sharing myself um, to the world. Uh, I did get really nervous for that just because, like, I don't know, it's like our little word family.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
and so it was my first time opening up for that. And it was interesting because at Nocturne, it's not just our poetry group, but there's actually just people like getting their juice or studying or whatever. And so I've experienced like not just at my featured reading, but wherever we were meeting, like people would come up and be like, "Hey, is this a Nocturne thing?" Or like, "Can I join?" And so it's interesting to see strangers just hop in with us.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Definitely,
mhm.
definitely. That's how I recruit them.
Yeah.
Actually, yeah. And speaking of which, at Becca's featured reading, there were these three people who came in. And they were really anxious and excited about this. Like, is this like a regular thing?
Yeah.
I'm like, well, it's about to end, but do you know where Nocturne is? And they
Yeah.
said, yeah, we know where that is. I'm like, okay, well, there's gonna be a featured reader in the next couple of weeks. Like, oh my God, we're gonna be there. And I'm like, so I mean, I love recruiting. It's such a joy to
Yeah.
find outsiders, and even if I'm the one who's going up to them and just saying like, would you like to be a part of this family?
Yeah.
You have nothing to fear with us.
Yeah.
Let it like and would I'm highly against censorship, so like just
Mhm.
let loose.
Yeah.
You know, we're not going to judge you. We are there for you.
Yeah.
You know, sort of
Mhm.
like one huge therapy session,
Yeah.
but it's free. So
Yeah. Woo.
so um so to you, what do you consider to be whether it's art, music, writing, whatnot? Like, what do you consider to be brilliant creation, and what do you consider to be filth?
um, let's start with filth.
Okay.
Um,
What's your definition, right?
so mass produced, like especially in music, it bothers me so much when you see people sort of being bought out or they're just not really expressing themselves or using that creative outlet for what they started for, you know, or even if they start by sort of selling out their talent, it's sad if you don't see them get out of that, and it's just wasted potential almost. So um, that bothers me a lot. And then outside of music, like in writing and stuff, predictability. Although I do think cliches are cliche for a reason. You know, like it's common because it is common, and so like especially if you're writing to express instead of just tell a story, um, that's completely understandable. And I don't know. I think all art is it's definitely valid art. Um, I don't know. It really just comes down to personal taste.
Definitely.
So there's no final answer.
Definitely. Okay, well, on that note, would you like to share a couple of pieces with us?
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Okay.
Let us in.
I will. I will. Okay. Mm-hmm.
Sorry.
Let's see. Okay. I read this before, like at my featured reading, so if you're on Zach's channel, you might have heard this, but here goes again. This is called Eve's Progression. It's from March of last year, so. At first, you made me hear colors. Our playlist painted shades of cerulean that danced in the darks behind my eyes. The flutter of my eyelids would aerate my frothy pink mind, conjure up the ideal image of you. That miniature misconception was just as hollow and deceiving as your real self. You, the cunning crook, you robbed me of those melodic gems, songs that were seared into my skin cells. You tore them out of my flesh, replaced them with rotten fruits. You are the charming serpent, slowly slithering into my mind, constricting my sanity, my ability to differentiate between reality and simple synesthesia. You, sir, you are the venom drip-dropping from the fangs of adolescent mistakes, attempting to corrode me, as well as any breathing, bleeding being with a lotus between their legs. The 370 years pass. You become a hazy violet memory tucked away in a box of nobodies in the shallowest crevice of my skull. I find a new anthem that paints an abstract alter ego for the next reptile in my life. He garnishes my mind with thin veils of tangerine, washes away the skin you shed with rose water. This song feels like honesty, screams contentment. The ring marks around my brain begin to fade, and sanity returns. I realize my beloved new soundtrack is the same one you tore apart from me. The only difference is the fellow who plays it.
Oof. Yes.
Thank you.
Love it. That's definitely become a personal favorite over time.
Really? Thank you.
Definitely.
Oh wow.
Okay.
I wrote that one in preparation for my first reading with you guys. It was the poetry contest,
Right.
and I was stressing out so much, and so I was like, I meshed together a few poems. Like there was one about synesthesia and one about that stinky boy, and I don't know. And then I sort of incorporated the biblical element with the snake, and then the rotten fruit would be the apples, and
Yeah, there's. I mean, when used as literature or like when used as reference, like any holy book. I mean, it's boundless. It's. I mean, those waters are vast. You can definitely use those for nearly anything.
yeah, wow. And then I don't even remember where I got the 370 from, but it was a verse or something. I think maybe 3-7. I don't know.
Guess we'll find out.
Yeah. To be determined. Okay. This one is not about love, but it is about a family member. And so, tough times, I don't know, life. I don't know, you encounter a lot of messed up things.
Yeah.
But, yeah, like really messed up. But, I don't know, ultimately there's something to be gained from it. But when I wrote this, we were at a point in my family where we couldn't see the outcome of anything, and it was all a really scary, uncertain time, and that's where this came from.
Splendid.
It's called Another One Snuffs the Dust. By my side no longer. I see your hollow shell sitting in my brother's place at the dinner table, but he is not inside. I gaze into the black voids that are just pupils to some, but to me, they are the messengers that tell me you're gone. You're not by my side today. You left us last spring when you met the bitch who clings to you. She crushed your ambition as she crushed up some coke. You killed your own soul after your 50th role, and you both killed my brother. His body you didn't dispose. No, you did not. You left it to rot and decay, and my family watches this husk of you holding your place. My mother's heart you break. But maybe, just maybe someday, he will rise from the dead and reclaim his reign over the sorry excuse for a man you've become.
Oh my gosh.
Uh,
Wow. What a out of curiosity, has your family heard that one?
my sister has. I think I may have shown my mom, but I've not shown my brother
Yeah.
yet. No.
Yeah. Well, that was. I'm sure that had a deep impact, and will have a deep impact on the rest.
Yeah.
Definitely. Well, before we conclude, do you want to plug your work some? Where can we find you?
Um, Nowhere yet, but there may be social media in the future. We'll see. We'll work on that. Actually, I think in March I'm going to look into some way to publish things.
Mm.
So that may be a thing in the future. We'll see.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you very much, Cassidy, for taking the time to speak with us today and to share
Thank
your
you.
beautiful, beautiful work. And looking forward to having you read soon.
Thank you very much.
Poetry lives, people.